Hey guys, console is nearly here. The Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 is upon us. I'm going to go over a few things here, a few pointers on what people don't actually know about the systems, if they're still undecided on which to get, or they haven't pre-ordered one, or they're thinking of changing. So, as I say, the launches of the Xbox One and the PS4 are imminent, as both next generation consoles are about to go toe-to-toe. Boom, boom. Gamers have already put their pre-order money down, as it's an expensive bet on which video game system will deliver the best performance over the next decade. Both systems are evenly matched in many aspects and should be able to usher in the next generation of gaming that the Wii U hasn't been able to deliver. With E3 2013 in the books, we can finally get a better perspective as in a PS4 versus Xbox One comparison and about their finer differences. Consoles. Both Microsoft and Sony went with a very box-like designs for their next generation consoles. The Xbox One literally put the box in box with a large black rectangular shape that's been compared to an oversized 80s VCR unit. The other thing adoring the front is a slot-loading Blu-ray disc drive, which, while almost all the cable hookups are in the back, including the HDMI input, Live for TV, something the PS4 doesn't have. When Sony finally unveiled what the PS4 looked like at E3, it reminded everyone in the audience of the PS2. As it was on a stand, but that's not included. But they really drove the point home with that. PS4 is smaller in size compared to the Xbox One and a little bit sleeker, thanks to its angular shape and two halves design. The Xbox One and PS4 consoles designs aren't game changers, especially compared to the more dynamic looking previous generation of consoles. But as a teacher once said, beauty is on the inside. DRM. Now there's a big thing going on now about PlayStation. A lot of people have picked up on new terms of services from PlayStation Plus and for the new PS4, but we'll get into that in a bit. DRM. Sony was clearly in command following E3 when Microsoft announced its strict DRM policy that barred used game sales and required Xbox One consoles to connect to the internet once every 24 hours, which we know they got rid of. The backlash was immediate. Gamers made it clear that physical copies of games would be theirs to own and resell as before. Likewise, they felt if offline gaming should be possible, especially if ISPs or Microsoft servers go down, it has happened before and will likely happen again. This is why Microsoft reverted its policy, sticking to the Xbox 360 method of handling DRM, while also getting rid of benefits like the ability to share your Xbox One games with other consoles. PS4 and Xbox One will function like they did in the PS3 and Xbox 360 era, which is the one area in which gamers are happy to hear hasn't been upgraded. Right, prices. While Microsoft amended its always online policy, the company has yet to backtrack on its other controversial E3 timed announcement, the higher Xbox One price. Xbox One will cost $499 in the US, £429 in the UK, and $599 in Australia. A premium because it comes with a 1080p Kinect camera out the box. The PS4 will cost $399 in the US, £349 in the UK, and €399 in Europe, and $549 in Australia. That doesn't come with a camera, which is known as the PlayStation Eye. Separately, the PS4 camera will cost $59 in the US, £54 in the UK, and $99 in Australia. So PlayStation 4 is still cheaper even when the console and camera are combined. Good move by Sony. With wallets lighter than ever, Sony may have a distinct advantage this holiday Christmas season. Right, release dates. The PS4 and the Xbox One finally have release dates, with the PS4 launch date happening first on Friday, November the 15th in the USA, then again on Friday, November the 29th in Europe and Australia. And the Xbox One launches in 13 markets, down from the previously promised 21 regions on Friday, November the 22nd. Unlike Sony's split PS4 release date, Microsoft is putting all of its attention on November 22nd in North America, most of Europe, Australia and New Zealand. This global launch could certainly help the hype factor. But Sony has a distinct advantage of initially releasing 1 week ahead of Xbox One and 2 weeks ahead of Black Friday, the major holiday sales day in the US. At least both systems will be out in North America before Black Friday begins. Right, the AMD CPUs in both systems. As much as the two wearing systems are different, the heart of the Xbox One and the PS4 remain very similar. That's because they're both running x86 octa-core CPUs, and these 8-core processors are built by the same chip maker, AMD. The use of AMD in Xbox One and PS4 is certainly a switch for both companies. Previously, Microsoft had used the IBM PowerPC processor, while Sony partnered with Toshiba and IBM on its own complicated cell processor that developers didn't warm up to. While the Xbox One will run a heavily modified 8-core AMD processor, PS4 will utilise an x86/64 Jaguar CPU. Both console makers are relying on AMD to design their next graphics processors that will produce the next generation visuals that differentiate console games from the emerging smartphone market. The Xbox One marries its GPU to the CPU in a system on a chip design, according to Wired, with DirectX 11.1 support. The single 40nm SoC really contrasts with the two dedicated 90nm chips found in the Xbox 360. However, it only marginally contrasts with the PS4, which also combines its AMD CPU with the chipmaker's GPU. In the case of PS4, the graphics processor is described as semi-custom AMD Radeon that runs 1.8 teraflops. One of the most impressive things about the PS4 specs has been its use of 8GB GDDR5 RAM. Microsoft unveiled the Xbox One to have 8GB RAM as well, but it's DDR3 memory rarity. That may mean more to game developers in the long run as opposed to gamers themselves right now, but it's still an interesting choice for the Xbox One. Further complicating this memory game is the fact that each console requires a portion of the RAM to run the operating system. PS4 reserves up to 3.5GB of memory for the operating system, leaving developers with 4.5GB according to documentation. They can sometimes access an extra 1GB of flexible memory when it's available, but it's not guaranteed. Xbox One's guaranteed memory amounts to a slightly higher 5GB for developers, as the operating system takes up to 3GB, which probably doesn't make up for the DDR3 memory usage for most developers. So which is the better controller? Let's talk about controllers. The Xbox One controller versus the PS4 DualShock controller is a debate that won't be won anytime soon. Excuse me, mostly because gamers already have a locked-in preference. The reason for this is that neither Sony nor Microsoft have radically changed their respective controllers over the years. They're more like evolutions from 2000 and 2001. The DualShock 4 is a little bigger in the next generation thanks to its unique front and centre touchpad. Sony stuck with the dual analog sticks down in the front, but at least have a central divot access for easy gripping. Microsoft also didn't mess with success, only slightly modifying its controller in the jump to the Xbox One. Its forte design innovations are subtle, including the tweaking D-pad on the bottom left of the gamepad and extra rumble features. In testing the two controllers at E3, Sony's DualShock 4 felt leaps and bounds better than the PS3 DualShock 3 controller. However, it was only catching up to comfort already provided by the Xbox 360 and now Xbox One gamepads. So, what do you think, guys? What are you thinking of your launch games? Who's got the better launch titles? Obviously, we know PS4 have got loads coming out after release as well. So, where's your money going? Mine's on the Xbox One, as you probably all know now. But if you just stumble on this video, check my other videos out. So let me know what you guys think about that, and I'll catch you guys later. Cheers, thanks for watching, bye.